Next, from Springfield, we attend the swearing-in ceremony for Susana Mendoza as she becomes Illinois' new state comptroller. This runs about 20 minutes.
It's official. Thank you. I really want to thank everyone for coming out this morning, and I want to start by recognizing Supreme Court Justice Ann Burke. She has been such an amazing female role model in my life. Clearly, my mother being the number one and most important role model in my life, but you come across special people throughout the course of your lifetime, and she's clearly one of them. I've told her that no matter what I run for, she's the one and only who could ever swear me in. So thank you for having done that for me as Chicago City Clerk, which has been up to now my greatest honor. You've done that twice, and today as Illinois Comptroller, and it would just not be special without you. So thank you for being here and being a part of my life as well. Thank you, Ann. I want to recognize everyone for being here today, frankly. I know that we have some dignitaries. We also have folks from Labor. I see Senator Menard here, Mike Kerrigan, many, many different folks from my life as Chicago City Clerk who have made the trek all the way down to Springfield to see me in this next special moment of our lives. And so I want to say thank you to all of you who have been there for me from day one. There's many, many more days ahead of us, and I'm going to need your help and support to move forward in the best and strongest possible way possible. I want to introduce you to some of the most special people in my life as well. This is a special moment for me, and so it wouldn't mean that much, frankly, without my mom being there with me. So you saw her. She was so excited she started to take the oath herself. Yeah, they said, repeat after me, I, Susana Mendoza, and she said, I, Susana Mendoza. So she is the original Susana Mendoza, so you've got 2 for 1, folks. She's so amazing. My father couldn't be here today because he is up with all of the people that left this world before us, but he's shining his light down upon me and has been ever since the good Lord called him 20 years ago. My husband, David, who was also holding that Bible with me, along with our son, David Quinton, and David, Big David, was such an amazing blessing in my life. We will be celebrating 5 years married on December 17th. So thanks. When they talk about a honeymoon period, I'm going to have none in this job. But sorry, honey, if I'll miss our anniversary dinner because I'll be working. But in any event, I wouldn't be able to do this without his support. From day one, when I talked about running for this position, I asked David, let's talk about this, and here's what I'm thinking, here are all the pros, here are some cons, and he said, whoa, stop right there. You're going to have a million variables to think about on whether or not you should do this. I am not going to be one of them. If you want to do this, then we're going to do it as a team, and we're going to do it better than anyone else ever has. And if you don't want to do it, I'll be here to support that decision. But that is like the best thing that any person, whether male or female, could ever hope to have in their spouse. And you are the greatest blessing in my life, honey. And then, of course, our greatest blessing that we made together, which is that little boy, David Quinton, who yesterday turned 4 years old. And we got to celebrate his birthday here in Springfield. ¿Verdad, mi amor? Happy birthday! Feliz cumpleaños! Woo! Yeah, he's waving to everybody. And he dressed up as Catboy. That was one of his big birthday gifts. If any of you have kids or grandkids, you know what I'm talking about. But hopefully he will be really good throughout this whole ceremony. My brother Joaquin is also here, and my Aunt Maria, who came all the way from Mexico to be here with us. Thank you. She's my godmother, and my in-laws, my mother-in-law, Helene Sostak, and Ed Sostak, and he's so handsome. I know what my husband's going to look like when I get older, so I'm lucky in so many ways. But truly, my family means the world to me, and they're going to be fully supportive as I take on this next endeavor of trying to protect so many other families across the state of Illinois. And they're truly a constant reminder to me of who I'm fighting for. They basically just embody everybody else's family. And so I have a constant reminder every day of who I'm fighting for when I wake up and when I go to bed at night. It is such a great honor for me to be here today. I want to again thank the voters of Illinois for putting their trust in me, and I'm going to work so hard every single day to deserve that trust. The state constitution lays out the duties of the Office of Comptroller to maintain the state's central fiscal accounts and order payments into and out of funds. It's no small responsibility, and it puts me in the position to safeguard the interests of the state's most vulnerable people. As I said during my campaign, I am here to be that independent, truth-telling fiscal watchdog that will prioritize both the state's fiscal and moral health. If anyone, from the governor on down, tells you that we can afford to bail out the big power companies, but we have to bail on Illinois school children, I'll be here to call their bluff. This is such a pivotal time for our state and our country. The choices we make now will impact our lives and our children's lives for years to come. Do we want a state that meets its obligation to provide services for the poor and the elderly, for people with disabilities, to be the primary funder of education in the state? Or do we want a state that keeps shirking its responsibility to pass a balanced budget? Just a few blocks from my home in Chicago's Bungalow Belt, a home for Illinois veterans who served our country and now suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia, was supposed to be open last summer, but instead it sits half-built because we've stopped paying our bills in this state. Is this the state we want to be? The state of Illinois has faced down tough obstacles before, and we have shown that when we have the political will, we know how to get things done. If we decide to honor our promise to keep our schools solvent, our entire school system solvent for our children's educations, so that they can continue to go to school uninterrupted, we can do that without holding our state school children hostage to whatever other side issues we decide to seize upon. Part of my responsibility as your controller will be deciding within constitutional mandates which bills to pay first. I hope my former colleagues in the legislature will understand my decision to continue to prioritize the most vulnerable people in our state over payments to legislators, unless a court instructs me to do otherwise. Today will be my first day in office, first day on the job, so no one can say that I haven't done my job or I don't deserve a paycheck. But nonetheless, I too will be putting my paycheck in the same queue as everybody else's, because in these times of fiscal crisis, these must be times of shared sacrifice, and we must prioritize the most vulnerable first. I plan to follow the shining example of my friend and predecessor, Judy Bartopinka, who I really truly believe is smiling down upon me today. Judy was a Republican and I was a Democrat, and that never ever mattered to our friendship, and it never mattered to her as she prioritized the people and institutions of the state of Illinois most in need of prioritization of payments. I honor her today, as I did on election night, by wearing her red suit and taking the oath of office on the cherished family Bible that her parents gave her in 1960. When Judy's son, Joe, sent me the Bible, he wrote a little note saying, "May the Lord be with you. You and Mom's legacies are intertwined." That makes me feel an even greater sense of responsibility to honor her legacy through what's the worst fiscal and financial crisis our state has ever had imposed upon itself. It means so much to me that I'm finishing out the last 2 years of Judy's term. And while my feet and no one's feet will ever be large enough to fill Judy's shoes, she will always serve as a role model for me and someone who I'd like to emulate. Like Judy, I take pride in having been bipartisan since the first moment I stepped into the State House at the age of 28, making friends on both sides of the aisle, friendships that I still have today. Like Judy, I can get along with anybody and work with anyone, but also like Judy, I'm not afraid to stand up to anybody, no matter who, and I will always fight for what I believe in. I will use the full power of my office to prevent Illinois' hospitals, group homes, rape crisis centers, and universities from going under. Over the last summer, I was in Charleston, Illinois, talking to professors who had been laid off from Eastern Illinois University because the state is shirking its responsibility to fund higher ed. People were giving the professors that day vouchers so that they could buy food because they had been laid off. I was so moved by these professors who had done nothing wrong. And it's not just the loss of a job. It's a loss of the pride and the loss of identity that comes with having a job. The embarrassment as though somehow they did something wrong, somehow they had failed. Those professors did nothing wrong. Their state government did them wrong. Those professors shouldn't feel embarrassed. This dysfunctional government should be embarrassed. And yet, through all the heartache present that day, there was joy and there was pride in seeing how that local community rallied behind its people. That's what's best about the state of Illinois. And while those educators were no longer employed, they did teach me something that day. They inspired me the way great educators do, and they gave me hope that things will get better. But as government leaders, we must exercise, as the Charleston community did, the best in us, not the worst in us, if we actually hope to succeed. Today is the first day that my transition team is getting a look at the offices and the actual books to see exactly what the payment situation is. My experts and I will be determining the best course forward as we make the difficult decisions that are going to be necessary to prioritize bills in a climate here in Springfield in which the governor and the legislature have not passed a budget that has adequate revenues to pay the state's overwhelming bills. Let me introduce you to some of the experts I've assembled for my transition team. Gila Bronner, she's a certified public accountant and government affairs consultant who has assisted several hundred government entities in streamlining business practices. She is as good as they come in terms of a subject matter expert. Rick Cornell is a finance expert with over 30 years of government experience in every single level of state government here in Illinois. They will lead a seasoned team of 18 people whose expertise will lend itself to building a plan and a strategy to help wrestle Illinois through this fiscal crisis. Now, folks, I worked long enough under this very same dome to forge long-lasting and good, solid relationships. And I understand the listening and the compromise that needs to be done to pass legislation here in Springfield. And I hope to truly be a force of good to facilitate good government here, even in these very, very polarized times. Let us reach out to one another. Try to focus on our shared values instead of devaluing each other. Illinois has had some great controllers from both parties. People like Controller Dan Hines, who has been a key advisor of mine throughout this entire campaign cycle, and truly one of the classiest people who has ever served in this state building. I'm so thankful for his service to Illinois as controller, and most importantly right now, I'm certainly thankful for his friendship and guidance. And pioneering women like Dawn Clark-Netsch and Judy Bartopinka. I mean, these women may have been from different parties, but both of them, Dawn Clark-Netsch and Judy Bartopinka, are equally unforgettable and completely awesome. But the heart and soul of the Controller's office are the hardworking men and women who serve Illinois residents day in and day out, in the good times and certainly, most importantly, in the bad. They don't care who the Controller is. They don't care what party the Controller belongs to. They just care about the people of the state of Illinois and how to do their job in the best and most honorable way for them. I am so proud to lead this new group. I'm super proud. I can't wait to meet all of them. And truthfully, I have not had an opportunity to even go into my office yet. So I was able to meet a few of the employees here in the Rotunda. I met a few last week when I was in Springfield. But I really want to tell you that I'm so proud to have the opportunity to lead you. And I hope that when my day is over here, you will have been proud to have worked with me as well. Okay. Who knew I was going to get so emotional at the very end here? But again, to the people of Illinois, I want to say thank you so much for the honor and the privilege to serve you. I ask you to please bear with me. This is going to be tough. Keep me in your prayers even, as I take on what will be the most challenging experience of my lifetime. Let's start by the fact that we're looking at almost $11 billion in bill backlogs. But that's not just $11 billion. That $11 billion signifies people who need us to do the right thing for them. They're not numbers on a spreadsheet. They're stories of people's lives and of how people are hurting in this state. And it's going to be my greatest honor to do what I can to try to serve them in the best and most honorable way possible, that we tackle this backlog as strongly as we can, but most importantly, that today, everyone in Illinois should know it is a new day in the Comptroller's office. I will bring every ounce of expertise and energy that I have at helping be a part of the solutions in this state, and look forward to working with anyone and everyone to be able to move the ball forward and put people first and the politics behind us. I'm hopeful, as the eternal optimist that I am. I gotta tell you, I really am very hopeful, and I'm optimistic that things will get better in the state of Illinois. We're going to get out of this, and we're going to do it together. And Illinois will see brighter days ahead. Thank you very much for being here. It's my honor.
Talk a little bit about prioritization of payments. Obviously, you haven't been in there yet, but what are you thinking in terms of how you do it differently?
Well, I mean, obviously, 90% of the budget is prioritized already for us, right, by the courts and different consent decrees and court orders. But that 10% is what I think really our office can have some say in, and it has to have some ability to prioritize that. So, truthfully, I'd like to have more in-depth answers for you, but I think you can all understand that I literally have not even been into my office yet. And I just met some of my employees today. We have not had the opportunity to meet with any of the staff prior to taking this office. There really has been zero transition or help with that. But we're ready. So I'm going to go in there today as soon as this is over, actually see what my office looks like so I can find it, and introduce myself to all of the staff. We're going to start very, very quickly to get to know what everybody's responsibilities are. And really, the people that are left in this office are going to be my team, and I'm really, truly honored to get to lead them. So we'll find out what everybody does and do the best we can.
When you say there was zero transition, did you not get any help? Did you try to get in and was
Yes.
the Comptroller not agreeable to helping?
Yes, that would be correct. Today is the first day that I actually get to meet my employee base. But this is not about the past. It's just about moving forward, and I don't really want to dwell with any of that. You deal with the cards you're dealt, or you play with the cards you're dealt, and this was a handful dealt. We're going to do the best for the people of the state of Illinois.
So, Governor,
Dropped that last year, seeking their back page. They just say, we're done, or do you understand where they're coming from in regards to the separation of powers?
As I said, I think they make valid points. However, I make a very valid point that the state of Illinois is in its worst fiscal crisis right now. And certainly, like I said, I just started today, and I'm putting myself in that same cube. Not because I want to villainize legislators. I clearly don't. I think a lot of them work very hard. However, we are public servants, and in this fiscal crisis, we need to make sure that we're prioritizing the right people first.
You talked about helping schools and rape crisis centers, etc., but you don't have the power to appropriate. So how do you get that done from the position of Comptroller and universities too?
Sure. Well, I mean, number one, I'm not going to be somebody who sits behind my desk all day, right? I'm going to be an active controller. I think I have a voice to lend to the discussion and the debate, and I'm looking forward to using it. And so, to the same extent, in areas where I can prioritize what is within my power, I will be doing that.
the governor
make a lot of speeches advocating for what she called a three-pronged approach, revenue cuts, and reforms. Are you going to be doing that type of thing, advocating for the political ends to this budget impasse?
Well, without a doubt, we need a budget, right? So we can't get anything done for the people of the state of Illinois without a budget. So I would advocate that people get to work on crafting a budget, passing a balanced budget, determining what revenues are needed and where we're going to be cutting. But a budget is nothing more than a list of priorities for the state of Illinois. And I was here, other members are here. Everybody has a role in crafting that budget and determining if you want to put something on the docket, you've got to figure out a way to pay for it. But that needs to be done. This should not be held hostage to other non-budgetary related items. Things like term limits, they can stand on their own. Vote for those on their own. Why should that be tied to the budget when people are being crippled across the state of Illinois? So I think that there is something to be said about encouraging and really putting pressure on the legislature to get a budget passed.
It's the governor that needs to give here.
I think everybody has to come to the table. But my point is that we are now 2 years in without a budget. So we need a budget. And the way to put that budget is to sit down with members of both parties, not just the leaders, but I would say the rank and file has a say in this. They should have a say in this. And figure out what they need to do to craft a budget and actually pass it. But I don't think that the approach of tying non-budgetary related items to the budget has proved fruitful for Illinoisans today. So I would let's move forward from that.
If you were in the room and they asked their advice, what would you say? We need a tax increase? We need to cut? What do we need to do?
Well, number one, again, it's my first day here, so I'd like to see what their plans are, other than just bickering amongst themselves, right? So I haven't been in those meetings, so it's a good question.
And what about the turnaround agenda? Does any of it deserve to be part of this? I mean, there's also property taxes, there's workers' compensation.
Like I said, I think all of those things independently should be standing on their own merits and should not be tied to the budget.
Thank you very much.
Are we good? I talked to him soon after I was elected. He called, and as a matter of fact, we were in Rome together for Cardinal Supich's elevation. So, yes. I hope that a little bit rubbed off on all of us. Thank you.